Hi, everyone. This is our instructional video for going into Module 7. So I will start with our Part 1, which is a review of Module 6 or week 6. Um, so a couple things here. Some general feedback on your speeches. I think the topics were absolutely excellent, from the connection between music and community, to how to karaoke properly, mental health, the impact and benefits of sports on youth. I think there were so many that had some really great information, and I learned from them. And that's what I look for with informative speeches. So nice job with that. And some of you did a really nice job of following the informative prep outline. And I know sometimes the outlines can seem kind of stifling. But I promise you, for this course, if you follow the outlines I provide, then when you move on and maybe have to give speeches or presentations beyond this course, some of that organizational structure will stick with you. Some of the focus on smoother transitions and it's what we call signposting between points will stick with you. The skill and the habit to get into of starting out with an attention getting device. The first words out of your mouth are key. And then, of course, sticking the landing, referring back to your attention getting device. It kind of wraps the speech up like a nice little package. And some of you did a really good job of speaking from your notes as opposed to reading your speech. Now, I will say, on the other hand, there are many of you who need to continue to work on that. And in fact, where you can find your speech feedback, so there's going to be two places. On the actual Go React Connect, where you did your videos, when I listen and watch your videos, I can insert comments at certain timestamps throughout your speech. So each of you has a few different comments that I've made throughout the speech. So that's a place where you can find specific feedback. The second place you can find specific feedback will be on a rubric that I attach to. This is what I did for the Who Am I speech. I will attach a rubric. It'll probably be in a PDF form, and that will also be through Connect. And in that rubric, you can see how the points broke down, and you'll also see some of my comments and feedback. So some of you really do need to work on presenting and delivering the speech as opposed to reading the speech. And to that point, some of you I could tell were reading like off of a teleprompter, off of a screen. We don't advise you to do that. We don't want you to do that. I only took off points in terms of reading the speech too much, because that is part of the rubric. But I will say that for the next speech and the speeches hereafter, I will penalize you if it looks like you're reading from a teleprompter, because we want you to be delivering and presenting the speeches, not simply reading them. Okay, so that's some feedback from the informative speeches. I think there's definite potential there, and I can't wait to see how everybody grows and continues to get better and better. So that's the way I want you to think of this course. Yes, each of these speeches is a kind of assessment, and it assesses your skills up until that point. But I also want you to look at it as a kind of a growth mindset, right? We're continuing to learn till the very last speech we deliver in here. So that's my pep talk. So also part of Module 6 was the database research activity and working with different kinds of supporting materials, extracting different kinds of materials, different kinds of evidence from the database research. This is actually another element that I want to speak to about your informative speeches. Some of you did a really nice job of attributing your sources and using sources that were seemingly found on the databases. For our next major speech, the persuasive speech, I will require a specific works cited page. I actually think it was my bad. I don't think I included the works cited assignment for this module. So you got lucky. Be mindful that any speech you give is like an essay, a researched essay, where you would need to back it up with a works cited page. And that shows the list of sources that you cited in your speech, and we do use MLA format for that. And I think one of the modules I did put an instructional video of how to do a works cited page, and some of you actually did attach it to your speech on Connect, so I appreciate that. And actually, someone who did that, I would love permission to use that as a model, because you did an excellent job with the formatting of that works cited page. And right now, I forget who it was, but if you're watching this, you might know who you are. So we're going to continue to work on that and making sure that from the sources that we find, we're extracting different kinds of evidence so that when we deliver our speeches, we include different kinds of evidence. I was looking for a mixture of expert testimony, statistics, specific definitions and examples, but then also how you develop the content of your speech. Did you create any hypothetical scenarios or illustrations to help the audience understand your information? Did you refer to any lay testimony? And lay testimony can also be called peer testimony. And those are opinions of people who aren't experts, but that your audience might really believe in them. For instance, sometimes we go to Consumer Reports when we're looking for a new refrigerator. Okay. And that information coming from experts is important to us. Sometimes we do research and we find expert opinions when we're making major life decisions. But sometimes Joe down the street can be just as credible to us. There's something about talking to the people we know and trust and people who are like us when we get their opinions or their testimony about something, that has credibility. Okay. So I was looking for a variety of different kinds of material as opposed to just facts. And some of you kind of loaded up with facts. Now, some of you did a really nice job of connecting to your speech personally and adding personal anecdotes. And that is also a type of supporting material or evidence. In terms of the attribution of sources, some people did a really great job, but I do have an example here of what I'm really looking for when you attribute your sources. And unless it's someone like Albert Einstein or Aristotle, who everyone knows, you need to tell us who this person is. Okay. And I know that I put that on some people's rubric and feedback that you need to make sure you tell the audience who your experts are, what they're affiliated with. So here's an example. In the June 2020 edition of The Atlantic, Dr. Jennifer Wilt of Johns Hopkins University explains, blah, 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 blah. It sounds like a mouthful, but once you get used to that kind of attribution, and if you notice here, I actually didn't use according to, which is kind of the standard way of attributing sources. And when I say attribution of sources, I mean that you are giving credit to those sources in your speech. So there's a sample. So moving forward for our next major speech, which is the persuasive speech, another smaller speech we have here next will be a declamation, and I'll talk more about that. But our next major speech with research, the persuasive speech, I will really want to hear some improvement on with the attribution of sources. And last point here, I did talk about different types of supporting material. So that's a review of last week and the last module. Okay. Part 2 of our instructional video is some clarifications and some changes. So, and I had talked to people, or not talked to students, but emailed and made some clarifications on our class Google Doc to this point when I got some feedback from students. But some assignments are not graded. They're tantamount to classwork, notes, and lecture that you would get normally in an in-person class and class activities. these are things and activities and experiences that will help you understand the material and practice the skills inherent with this class. Um, but some assignments are graded, like the things that I would collect and look for, use as a formative assessment or a summative assessment for, deciding if you've mastered certain skills. Um, by popular demand, I have gone through the entire course, all the modules, and I have planned out and added due dates to all of the assignments. If I made an error, please let me know. If something looks awry and I have a weird date on there, um, just let me know, and we will amend that. And I am very good at making accommodations for students if you ask me ahead of time if you need extensions on things. But the bottom line is, if assignments don't get turned in, I have certain times throughout the week where I go in and I do grading and I check, and so you don't want those zeros to pile up. Okay. And I would also recommend, it would be wise to go through the modules, activities, and assignments kind of in the order that they're posted within the module. And what I can do is, because I know some people aren't watching these instructional videos, I think I will put, when I post this one, a big watch this kind of thing, because this is a way to make the course more personal, and these are things that I can't guess I will have to say throughout a course. Everything I'm giving you right now is authentic and unique to this particular class, this group of students, and the work you've provided already and you've completed already. And so you're not getting the full information, okay, for the course if you don't watch these. So spread the word, okay? Okay, so let's go to the next one. So the next one is the interactive part of this instructional video. So whenever you are watching this, you will click on our class Google Doc, and I am going to get out of that because, of course, I have multiple tabs open. Here we go. And this was last week's instructional video, and a few of you responded on the Google Doc, so that's how I know many are not watching this video. And I've gone through, and in bold, I have responded to you all who took the time and gave me some feedback and let me know how I could better support you. But let's go down to, where are we? Week 7. There we are, Module 7, Week 7. So what is the question of the day? And I'm not going to write it on here because I want to make sure people watch the video. So what I'd like you to do here is, if you could do anything different about your informative speech, if you had a take 2, what would you do differently and why? Okay, so pretty straightforward, but that'll give you a chance to reflect on the speech as well. So that's part 3, the Google Doc, and then we'll just pick up here with part 4. So, and this is the part I think that one student asked a little bit more of a preview or overview of this new module and what to expect. So module 7, kind of a carryover from module 6, because I wanted you all to have time to really focus on developing your speeches, practicing them, and really doing a good job of delivering the final informative speech. So I will ask that in module 7 here this week, you find the time to watch one of your peers, just one, and complete a peer review for the informative speech. And you will see that on module 7, and you will watch and complete and fill out that sheet. And that is something that I do give points for. So make sure you do that. Plus, it gives you a chance to feel like you are watching someone else and not just you, and that you get to see the goods and bads and uglies of your classmates too. And, all the good things that everyone is learning. Okay. So also in module 7, we will focus on our voice brand. So we're going to take a step back from research, a little bit of a break, and this will now focus on the presentation part of speaking, not the researching and the developing the outline and making sure you have all of those integral parts. Now it's more about the presentation. Now it's more about learning about how to change our rate, going fast certain times and then slowing down certain times. If you notice, I changed my rate when I started talking about this. I know that as a teacher, I speak very, very fast at a same rate and sometimes same pitch. So I am mindful of that. When I get really excited and I'm on a roll, I have to pull back, change my rate, slow down. And that's really for the listeners, so the listeners can get everything. And bonus point to anybody who can pick out the typo here. And you can put that on the Google Doc. I'm not going to tell you, but it's killing me. I can't stand the typo, but I'm going to let it go. So we're learning about inflection, which is changing of your voice, pitching up or pitching down, and uh, really understanding how to group words together when you are speaking. And there is an assignment in Module 7. It's called a voice branding declamation practice assignment. There's a couple links with some videos and a website that'll talk to you about thought groups, how to work on putting certain groups of words together to help with your rate, to help with your pausing, and to help you understand how to inflect on certain words. Volume. Something that I noticed with some of your speeches is even if your recording device is fairly close to you, I still need you to project. And so right now, I hope my volume isn't too loud for you, but I am making sure, even though I'm very, very close to to my laptop here, to this recording device, I'm still projecting my voice. And along with rate, there's pausing, finding certain spots in your speech where you can take a brief pause, take a breath, and then continue. And that's for emphasis and that's for impact. And sometimes that's just for you to catch your breath and for the listener to catch their breath. So we're taking a break from research. We're going to focus on how we present, not necessarily what we present. And that leads us to this kind of smaller special occasion type speech number 3, which is a declamation. And here's what a declamation is. Declamation refers to delivering someone else's speech. So you're not writing this speech, you're not researching this speech. You are taking someone else's speech that has been delivered in some venue and you're presenting it. You're not trying to imitate the original. I always use the example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Students raise their hand, I want to do the I Have a Dream speech. And I caution them against that because number one, and I don't want this is going to sound horrible, it's overdone. It's a little too well known. Okay. And number two, students tend to want to listen to the cadence and the rhythm and the rate of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and they want to imitate him. And declamation isn't imitating. You are bringing your own voice to someone else's speech that's already been delivered. And the one with my other classes, with this speech class, I usually have them research and choose a 2 to 3 minute excerpt of a speech that they would like to present. Someone else's speech that they present. So you're not writing this speech. You are presenting a speech that's already been written and published and delivered somewhere, okay, in some venue. For you all, because it's a short semester, right? I've chosen a particular declamation speech for you. It's by a young man. He's not young anymore, but he was when he delivered this, Craig Kielburger. And he speaks to the Senate subcommittee hearing on human rights. And he speaks about child labor laws. And I just think it's a well-written speech. And I think it provides many opportunities for us to play around with inflection, rate, volume, and pausing. So what you're going to do for this speech, everybody is going to deliver the same speech. You're simply going to read, but not just read from the speech, deliver from his speech. You're going to present it to the camera. You're going to record yourself. It's going to seem awkward because it's not your words, but it really takes the pressure off you with researching and writing a speech. And really, you just get to practice on how you present it. and your voice, and even your eye contact and your facial expressions, those kinds of nonverbals that are important in communication. Okay. So again, declamation is not, you're not writing your own speech. You're not researching your own speech. You're taking a speech that's already been delivered. And I want everyone to do the speech that I've provided in the assignments in Module 7, Craig Kilberger's speech on child labor laws. And I look forward to hearing all of your different renditions of this speech. And who knows, maybe I'll pick the top 3, and if we were in person, I'd give you a reward. But maybe the reward will be a free late pass on an assignment. So we'll see about that. Okay. All right. So look for your feedback on your informative speech. The feedback is already on the Connect. I went through all the speeches that were submitted yesterday, watched all of them, gave feedback. I did complete rubrics, and what I need to do now is take those rubrics and attach them to your Connect speech. So again, you will see those soon. If I don't get those tonight, I can get to those by tomorrow. But right now, and that'll have your grade on it, and the grade will go into Canvas and you will see it. For right now, your feedback is little timestamps throughout your speech. You'll see my comments. And as soon as I get the chance, you will also see a little attachment, which I think I did last time, an attachment which will have a document. Open up the document and it's your full rubric. Okay. So that will be one element of feedback you'll get. So this was a lot longer than I wanted to make it, but hopefully you listened and got something more out of this. I gave you a little bit more of a guidance for this coming week, and have a great week, everybody. Take care.